You don't feel empty because something is wrong with you. You feel empty because you've been full of things that were never yours, full of noise, full of guilt, full of the opinions of people who never even asked how you really feel. You've been carrying the weight of expectations disguised as love. You've been walking through your life wearing masks, smiling, performing, achieving, all while slowly forgetting the shape of your soul. And one day, it hits you in the middle of the night, in the silence, after the scroll ends, in the quiet of an accomplishment that didn't bring peace. That ache, that void, that deep gnawing whisper that says, this isn't it. And it terrifies you because you've done everything they told you would make you whole. You followed the map, you checked the boxes. You became what they said was successful, but you still feel like something's missing. And it's not a thing. It's you. This is the truth about why you feel empty. You've abandoned yourself again and again and again for acceptance, for peacekeeping, for performance, for survival. You betrayed your gut for harmony. You silenced your voice to avoid conflict. You minimized your desires to keep their love. And every time you did that, you disappeared a little more. They didn't need to break you. You broke yourself, trying to fit into lives that could never hold the weight of your truth. So now, you walk around with a smile that's been negotiated, laughter that's been edited, purpose that's been postponed, and the cost is you, not your job, not your relationship, not your social status. You, the real you, the ancient you, the wild, radiant, unfiltered you, the one you were before the world taught you to shrink. You feel empty, not because you have nothing, but because you've traded your everything for approval. You were taught to chase things, not truths. You were trained to chase status, not self. You were groomed to wear pride like armor and call that power. But it wasn't power. It was protection. Protection from your own reflection. Because the moment you stop running, the moment you look in the mirror without the mask, you'll see her. You'll see him. The one who's been waiting for you to return. That's where the emptiness ends. Not when you get more, but when you release more. Release the lies. Release the projections. Release the belief that worth must be earned through suffering. Because you were never supposed to perform for love. You were supposed to be loved. Syphoria is a name for this. This sacred disorientation, when the self begins to rise from the ashes of a lifetime of pretending. The euphoria of psychological rebirth, not through conquest, but through reclamation. You don't need to create a new self. You need to return to the real one. But to do that, you must step into the fire. You must let the illusion burn. Burn the story that says you're only as valuable as your productivity. Burn the narrative that calls your silence weakness. Burn the script they gave you and write your own in blood, in truth, in clarity, because clarity is the cure for emotional starvation. And clarity only comes when you are ready to let the old gods die, the god of performance, the god of people-pleasing, the god of perfection. They are false idols, and they will never fill you. They will drain you until your soul forgets its own name. So speak it. Say it. Whisper it in the dark if you must. Call yourself home, because you are not lost. You are buried. And now it's time to rise. The first thing to rebuild is your mindset. Not with positivity, not with slogans, with truth. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. you are exactly where the unraveling was meant to begin. Because the unraveling is sacred. You cannot become real until everything fake has fallen apart. You cannot feel full until everything hollow has been emptied. This is where power begins. Not when you add more, but when you stop lying to yourself. Stop lying about how okay you are. Stop lying about who you've become just to be liked. Stop lying about the dream you buried because someone else called it too much. It's not too much. It's you. And you were never meant to be a half version of yourself. You were meant to be so whole, so powerful, so aligned, that even your silence speaks louder than the noise of the world. But to become that, you must confront your beliefs. The quiet ones, the buried ones, the ones you don't say out loud, but that run your entire life. The belief that you are not enough. The belief that joy must be earned. The belief that peace is for other people. Those are not truths. They are traumas with scripts inherited, reinforced, and repeated until today. Because today, you stop auditioning for your own worth. Today you say, I'm done handing the pen of my identity to people who never even read my soul. And when that shift happens, even just a crack, light gets in. And once the light gets in, everything starts changing. Your posture, your voice, your boundaries, your desires. You stop chasing love. You become it. You stop seeking freedom. You remember you always had it. You stop hoping to feel full, because the fullness comes from within, not from others, not from applause, not from security, from truth, from finally being yourself without flinching. Good. Because now you're standing on the edge of something irreversible. You've named a lie. You've called yourself home. And in that moment, when all the pretending falls away, clarity emerges like a storm breaking through fog. But don't mistake clarity for comfort. Clarity cuts. It severs what no longer serves. It silences what once distracted. It strips away what you thought you needed to survive and shows you what you actually need to live. Clarity isn't calm at first. It's chaos. Because now you see the relationship that was built on fear, the job that numbs instead of builds, the goals that were never yours to begin with. Clarity exposes the prison you called purpose, and the truth you tried to outrun in the name of peacekeeping. But don't run. Not this time. You've been asleep too long to turn back now. Let it burn. Let it all fall if it must. Because anything built on your silence was never stable to begin with. This is not destruction. This is liberation. When the smoke clears, you'll find something else rising from the ashes. Vision. Not the vague fantasy of what life could be someday, but the precise direction of what you were born to do. Vision is when the soul remembers. When it says, I did not come here to repeat. I came here to rebuild. You've tried living like them. You've tried playing it safe. You've tried becoming digestible, accessible, easy to understand. But now you know. That version of you will always feel empty. Because it's not you. So you begin to shape something else. A life where your soul breathes. A path where your feet don't drag. They march. This vision, it won't come from books or gurus. It will rise in stillness. It will arrive like a memory that never left. It will whisper, remember me. I am the life you locked away when they told you to be smaller. Let it out. Let it stretch. Let it terrify you. If your vision doesn't scare the parts of you that once settled, it's not big enough. If it doesn't offend your old identity, You haven't shed enough layers yet. You are not here to build a life that makes sense to others. You are here to build a life that revives you every time you wake up. And now we talk about the backbone of all of it. Purpose. You don't find purpose. You don't stumble into it. You remember it. You remember what made your eyes light up before the world dimmed them. You remember what made time disappear before money and validation entered the equation. You remember the feeling of movement without needing recognition. That's purpose. It doesn't always make sense. It doesn't always pay well at first. It doesn't always fit the script they handed you. But it calls you from the depths, from the silence, from the part of your soul that refuses to die quietly. And the moment you say yes to it, not just with your words, but with your life, you become unstoppable, because purpose makes pain tolerable. Purpose gives a storm meaning. Purpose turns wounds into wisdom and suffering into strategy. You're not empty. You're not broken. You're misaligned. And the moment you step back into alignment, the void starts to close. Not because it's gone, but because you're finally home in yourself again. But knowing your purpose is not enough. You must protect it with discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is devotion. It is your sacred yes to the future. You say you want, and your ruthless no to anything that insults it. It's the actions no one sees. The choices that don't get applause. The boundaries you enforce in silence. The temptations you walk away from, not because you're weak, but because you're too powerful to be distracted now. Discipline is a decision that says, this life is mine, and I will not abandon myself again. So you rise early, you create, you move, you learn. You say no without guilt. You rest with intention. You speak only when it's necessary. You act not because it's convenient, but because it's necessary. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. Discipline doesn't ask for motivation. Discipline demands integrity. And when your actions are aligned with your vision, you stop living from reaction. You start leading from identity. You become the kind of person your past self prayed to become, and your future self thanks you for becoming. And life will respond. Not always with ease, but always with truth. It will test your new alignment. It will shake the ground beneath your feet. It will send storms to see if you still flinch. And this is where the next gift awakens. Adaptability. Because you will not always get to choose your conditions, but you will always get to choose your response. The strong don't resist the wave. They become the water. They bend. They pivot. They endure. They don't need the world to be calm because they've made peace within themselves. You want to stop feeling empty? Stop needing life to be perfect and start becoming the kind of person who thrives regardless. Let go of the plan, but never let go of the path. Let go of how it should have been, but never let go of who you're becoming. Because you weren't made to be linear. You were made to evolve, and your evolution will confuse those who never dared begin their own. Good, because now you're walking through fire, not to be destroyed, but to be revealed. This is where the old self begs to be remembered. This is where the patterns plead to be repeated. This is where the mind starts whispering. Go back. It was easier there. But you know too much now. You've tasted truth. You've glimpsed your power. And once you do, you can't unsee it. This is where resilience is born. Not the fake kind. Not hustle disguised as healing. Not stay strong while you're quietly shattering. Resilience is not rigidity. It's elasticity. It's bending without breaking. It's hurting without surrendering. It's crying in silence and rising in clarity. Resilience doesn't say, I'm fine. It says, I'm becoming. You become by breaking cycles. You become by staying present in your suffering, not bypassing it with toxic positivity. You become by learning to sit with discomfort, not as punishment, but as the birthplace of power. Because everything you want lives on the other side of what you're afraid to feel. This is emotional truth. This is emotional wisdom. The things they never taught you to trust. They told you your emotions were liabilities. They called your intuition too sensitive. They branded your depth as too much. But they were wrong. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They are signals, messengers, sacred data points from your inner self. To build a life that feeds your soul, you must stop silencing the parts of you that were never meant to be muted. Your anger is a boundary you haven't spoken. Your sadness is truth begging to be honored. Your anxiety is your body screaming in the presence of a life that isn't aligned. You don't fix emotions. You listen to them. You decode them. You transmute them. Because a strong mind doesn't suppress its heart. It follows it. A powerful life isn't void of emotion. It's driven by emotion, but not ruled by it. You feel everything, but you don't become anything that betrays your truth. And when you've walked through emotion and returned with your integrity intact, when you've stayed soft in a world that hardened you, and stayed deep in a world that celebrates shallow, you return home to something ancient. You return to soul reintegration, the remembering, the weaving back together of every piece of yourself you disowned to be love. The loud one, the quiet one, the fearful one, the bold one, the one who loved too much, the one who never felt enough. You call them all back. You sit them at your table, and you say, no more exile, no more shame, no more cutting parts of myself to be more acceptable. I choose to be whole, messy, glorious, unapologetically whole. And in that moment, something happens. The emptiness begins to close. Not because you fixed yourself, but because you finally accepted yourself. You stopped running. You stopped bargaining. You stopped proving. You reclaimed. And when you reclaim, you no longer chase love. You become love. You no longer chase power. You become power. You no longer chase peace. You realize it was always within. This is the moment. This is the truth. You never lacked anything. You were never broken. You were simply living a life too small for your soul. And now you're done. Done living on autopilot. Done swallowing your words. Done betraying yourself to belong. Done carrying what was never yours. You no longer abandon yourself to be chosen. You choose yourself fully, fiercely, finally. And everything that isn't real begins to fall away. The noise, the roads, the cages, the stories. And what's left? Not the mask, not the performance, but you, unfiltered, undeniable, unmistakably you. And in that you, that radiant, rooted, real you, there is no emptiness. There is only space. Space for meaning. Space for peace. Space for truth. Space for sacred solitude. Space for a life that matches your soul. You were never too much. You were never not enough. You were just waiting for this moment. The moment you remembered, you are not empty. You are vast. You are wild, you are alive, and you are free.